So today I want to explain to you your bag of supplies that I gave you, and we're actually going to use our supplies today in doing this assignment. First of all, in your bag, you've found 2 pencils. Now you might think that these pencils are the same because they both have a turquoise sort of looking outer, and they both say Prismacolor turquoise on them, but really, the important thing about these pencils is that you will see right here at the end, you will see one of them says 3B and one of them says 6B. So a little bit about the pencil is that the 3B is similar to a number 2 pencil, regular pencil, except for it's just a tidbit softer lead. The 6B is a much softer lead. 6B is a really great pencil to use when you want to get nice, dark, vivid shades. And that's why you have 2 different art pencils, is because we will start shading our objects as we draw them. So today we're going to practice making a value key. You'll hear the word value and shade used. They mean the same thing in art. So that's what we're going to do today. Today we are going to make 3 scales of values in certain ways, of course. So that's a little bit about your pencils. Then you will notice you got this little piece of an eraser. It actually is a magic rub eraser, and I've cut it in 4 sections. And what I like about the magic rub erasers for art is that they're white, so they don't leave a big residue of pink when you're erasing. And they erase pencil, they erase some charcoal, and they erase some colored pencil. Of course, they don't work on ink pen, and depending on how hard you press with your lead, there are some things that will never erase, just if you press super, super hard. But this is just a nice, good, general art eraser. Then you got in your bag what I call a blender stick. And the blender stick, I have 30 of them here, just because I want to show you that blender sticks come in different sizes. And if you get like an art kit, oftentimes you'll get a variety of pencils, because there's 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, 8B. There's lots of different softnesses of lead. And there's also different sizes of blending sticks. Sometimes, like on this one, the one you were given, a blending stump or an art stump. These are used to move lead around on your paper. And these are really helpful. Actually, you might get one of these with a kit too, and you might even get one that's kind of hollow. I don't like those because when you go to use them, they just kind of smash. You got one that's thick. The thing about these little guys is you do not want to put them in the pencil sharpener. If you do, you wreck it. They basically is a full-on piece of thin, thin, thin paper that's super tightly wound. And how you sharpen these little guys actually is sandpaper. And if you were in the classroom, you would notice I have sandpaper hanging on the walls in different spots, because what you do is you take this little guy and you rub it against sandpaper, and it will clean the lead off. The other thing is you're going to learn how today we like to leave the lead on it, because we'll use the lead actually to draw with. So these little guys can be used with lead, as you're going to use them today with. They can be used with charcoal. They can even be used with colored pencil. And again, you got one that's not a super, super big one. It'll work really well today for small areas. I also like this one, and I also like ones that are bigger than this because they're just a little bit thicker. You will notice if you press really hard with yours, they can snap in the middle. So you want to be a little bit careful with that. The other thing is You can move lead around with these, but you also can move lead with a piece of paper towel, a piece of tissue, a piece of toilet paper, and you can rub here, and you can even just simply use your finger. I don't like to get lead all over my finger because I find myself contaminating other parts that I don't want to. But you can use your finger as well. So that's a little bit about the supplies, and today you're going to get practice in actually using the supplies. So I am going to start with my 6B pencil. I like the 6B because the lead is super dark, and although you can get it even darker than 6B, but it gives you a really dark, nice, vivid area. So in doing the assignment of today, here are your basic rules. One is you're going to fill each box completely, and you're going to make sure that each box is different in shade from the neighboring box and in correct order. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to start down here and then go here and then go back here and then go over here, because it will be very difficult to get a really nice looking scale that goes from white to black. And you say, well, white to, what do you mean by that? You'll notice down here at the bottom of your page, I labeled it. You're going to go from light to dark. So you're going to go from light to a little bit darker, 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 black. I think, and it doesn't matter if you go from here to there or you go from here to there. You might simply play around and practice and do it differently on each scale and see which way is easier for you. I think it is easier to start with the dark first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 6B pencil, and my first method of making this scale is to use the hatching method. Hatching simply means that you take your lead and you go all the same direction. So in here, I'm going to press hard, and I want my lead to go all the same direction. Now you might notice that it's nice and vivid black, but I can't quite get into the little middle, just the little tiny white spots in there. That's where this little guy comes really handy. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to fill the white spots. I'm going to rub in that hatching motion. And you might notice, uh-oh, I became a little slobby there. Well, in art, being neat counts. It's part of craftsmanship. So we're going to clean that up. But I'm going to wait to clean it up until I have the whole scale done. So I'm going to continue with my 6B. And now I'm going to continue to go in hatching. And I didn't press quite as hard. Now notice when I use my blender stick, it still darkens it a little bit because it's melting that lead together. Noticing now that this one is a different shade than this one. In fact, I gotta get a lot of shades going. I might actually put a little bit more lead on here. It's still lighter than my black one, but I'm going to get a little bit darker. Now I'm going to go to my next one. Notice I'm going all the same direction. This time I'm going to take a paper towel. And I ask myself, dark, does it get a little bit lighter? A little bit lighter? If it does, then you're doing it correctly. I'm going to still hatch, which means I still go all in the same direction. Take my paper towel. That went kind of fast. I like that. I'm now going to switch to my 3B pencil. I'm going to go sideways direction here. Take my paper towel. I'm going to keep going here. I'm hatching. I'm releasing the pressure. Now, I'm going to switch back to my blender stick. Blender stick. Here's where it gets really difficult because I might need to show this one a little bit darker just so I can get enough shades. This one here, go ahead and leave completely white. Then notice what you can do with your second box. You take your dirty blender stick, and with that lead that's on the dirty blender stick, you can actually draw with and get your second box. You might even be able to press harder with your blender stick. Don't break the blender stick. But again, using your dirty blender stick, get your next box. So your whole goal then is to look to see. Now I see that this one looks lighter than this one. It is lighter than this one, of which I want it to be. But what I might need to do is go over this one to get it a little slightly darker. Be careful you don't snap your blender stick. And also keep in mind that you can add more lead if you need to, so that you have a scale that goes from white to black. Then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to take your little eraser. If you have a mechanical drawing pencil, that eraser works well also. But then you're going to clean your whole thing up. Because like I said, for an artist, your craftsmanship, neatness counts. So you will clean it up like this. Now, without taking too much of your time, this will be your hatching scale. Down here, you're going to do the same thing about going from white to black, but you're going to cross hatch. So to cross hatch, again, I like to start with my 6B. Cross hatching is where you go diagonal one way, and then you crisscross. You go diagonal the other way. You press hard so it's really, really dark. And the darker you can get it, the easier it is to get all of these in. So again, you're going to press hard, not quite as hard this time, but hard. And then you're going to crisscross. I'm going pretty fast. I'm getting kind of slobby. This one I can even get darker. But yet it's not quite as dark as this one. Crisscross. Now, I'm going to use my blender stick in the same direction. Fill those little white spaces up. At the very end, I'll clean it all up. The third scale is either scribbling or rendering. You choose. Really, a popular way to shade when we start doing our lifelike objects is to render. That is probably the most popular technique used when drawing, and we will do it a lot. In this scale, rendering means you go like this. You hold your pencil like this, and you use all of that lead, and you go in a circular motion. So rendering is to go like this. If you want to do this in the scribbling method, it's very, very similar. Circular motion. Use your blender stick to fill in those little white corners. release some of the pressure. Circular motion. Use your blender stick because that blender stick helps to melt the lead. And at the end, you're going to clean it all up.